Hey, welcome to another episode of Chocobo Chasers, and as always, fuck you, Bull. Um, no, as always, I'm G. I'm joined by the Chocobros, Erik and Dash. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing pretty good.
I'm good. I mentioned that, so I made a post on social media. If you don't follow me, you can at Prometheus0530 on basically every social platform. I made a post on Twitter or X, whatever you want to refer to it as,
Twitter.
about how U-Bowl is a trash director and makes terrible movies. The man himself decided to reach out to me.
He's
And
just searching
apparently-
himself on Twitter.
Yeah, and also apparently there's a host and slew of U-Bowl defenders. Didn't know they exist, but
Wow.
you know, they're probably marrying their cousins. You know what? I'm not going to dive into it too much because then they'll come after me again. So
Bring it on!
yeah, so happy day to those people, and we've got not
Bunch
a
of
ton to
fucking
cover.
dorks.
Seriously though, we don't have a ton to cover today, but we do have a pretty crazy bit of news which literally just dropped today. So we'll start the episode off. What are you playing? Erik, I'm actually going to have you go ahead and start us off this week.
Well, it's more of the same in my house. Still rocking Crusader Kings 3.
Hell yeah.
I couldn't kick off the Dance with Dragons in my Rogue Prince bookmark. So
Okay.
I said fuck that because I got aggravated. And I decided to fire up another, go figure, Bobby B's Rebellion. In this one, I am the bastard grandson of Jaehaerys II. If you don't know who Jaehaerys II is, that is Aerys the Mad King's father. So, I am basically a cousin to Rhaegar. I have staked my claim, and I was able to hatch a dragon. So, not who. While staking my claim, the Mad King said, "Fuck you. You're not part of this family." Wanted me to give up all my claims. I said no. So I just went ahead and sided with the rebels. They lost.
Oh.
Robert got fucking doinked at the Trident by Rhaegar. So I went to jail. Rhaegar had Aerys deposed and set me free. No idea where my dragon is. It's gone.
Oh.
So somewhere out in the wild, there is going to be this dragon just growing up and eating random people.
I love how that's a mechanic.
I don't know what to
amazing.
do. It's going to be a wild dragon. You can track it down through console commands, but I just kind of decided, like,
Yeah,
let's see what happens. Fuck it.
just let it be free.
Yeah, maybe there's going to be one. The only thing is, so, like, the triggers for, like, so if Rhaegar survives, Daenerys is never born. But we still get Jon Snow, who in the mod, they just call him Aemon Targaryen. So, little bastard boy, had him as a ward. Hung out with me. Rhaegar's like, you know what? Legitimized. So, I am Lord Paramount of the Riverlands. I have a good bit of land into the Westerlands. I've rebuilt Castamere. Just chilling, man. I've got my kids married to Rhaegar's kids. We're living life, man. I'm not going to make the Iron Throne, but my kids will probably fight for it one day. I'm going to take the claim to them. So, that's pretty much it. Played some Valorant with the boys, got some dubs, played some more College Football 25. 4 straight natties to Michigan State. Spartans, Leonidas, this was for you. Fuck Persia. Fuck Oregon.
Fuck Oregon.
We're out here. So
Hell yeah.
after that, I decided, you know what? Maybe it's time for something different. Florida, the Swamp, decided they wanted to bring the talents of Coach Erik J. Bird to light. We're down in the Swamp, baby. We got this team is fucking ass. They won 2
Swamp
games.
ass.
They won 2 games the year before. It's not pretty. This team stinks. Fortunately, though, I've been keeping an eye on their recruiting classes. They had top 5 recruiting classes the previous 2 years. I've got a pretty good slew of freshmen and sophomores on this 83 overall team. We're gonna be good.
LA.
We're 5 games in. We're undefeated. We've got the top 3 ranked class. We're not going anywhere.
That's some money right there.
We're bringing back the gangs. I'm talking about Aaron Hernandez, Maurice Pouncey,
Oh,
Mike Pouncey. We're murdering people, all right? Tim Tebow, hookers, cocaine. This is how we're going to get recruits to this school. This is how we're going to bring back the original, the best Florida, some could say.
The true Swamp Kings.
Not the Steve Spurrier Florida, not the Jesse Palmer Florida, the hood rat Florida. We want that.
We're talking Urban Meyer,
we want
Florida.
Ratchet shit. I might just fake a heart attack when sanctions come through. Who knows? That's pretty much it.
Hell yeah.
I do love college football, man. The recruiting's so fun. The game definitely is not as good as it could have been, in my opinion. But you know what? We'll see what happens in the next iteration. Hopefully, they improve on it a little bit. I'd like to see some more. I just like to see some more life out of a dynasty. It doesn't feel alive.
Yeah.
But other than that, man,
there.
It's fun just heaving balls 70 yards downfield. It's always open. It's broken as shit. But you know what? We like putting up 70 points. It's fun. Defense, optional. Offense, guaranteed. Touchdowns for all my people. Let them have it. That's it. That's all I played.
Let those TDs flow.
Show me the TDs, as they could say.
All right. Dash, what about you, man? What are you playing this week?
A lot of Risk of Rain 2. That's been my focus ever since the new DLC came out. And now I can say that I've at least beaten the boss quite a few times. And I unlocked the 4 achievements they put in with the DLC, considering that that's all they had for unlockables. Which, I mean, it's like you got 3 new characters, and although I like the new characters and they're very interesting, especially once you beat the boss under certain conditions, you pretty much unlock the boss as a character. And it kind of ends up being like that meme you see where it's like the boss when you face them versus when you unlock them as a playable character.
Yeah.
But actually, he ends up being pretty overpowered because he scales based on your health. So if you get more health items, he gets more powerful, essentially. And I didn't realize that his ultimate ability is chargeable. So I would press the button and it's barely doing anything. And so the key is that you hold down and charge it up all the way, and it shreds everything, including bosses early game. It's crazy. So I really enjoy that. The only thing left for me to really unlock are the new skins they added for all the previous survivors. So I've been going through doing that. But with as much time as I'm putting into this game, it's becoming apparent, with the 3 new characters, they only gave 1 additional ability that you could unlock for each of them, whereas every previous character in all the previous DLC in the base game had 3 unlockable abilities. So it seems like maybe Gearbox might have not really put too much effort into the characters themselves, maybe, but there's just not that as much to unlock. There's 5 new stages, that's cool, and some new enemy 2 new enemy types, I guess, in the boss. So it's kind of unfortunate that maybe besides that new content we had to wait 2 years for. But there's also the other major issues, and this is kind of funny because the biggest Risk of Rain 2 content creator, Wooly, he's been putting out some videos about the new DLC, and we have the bug tier list. I've never seen someone do this. So they've introduced a lot of bugs in this, and some of them are groundbreaking. Not so much for the PC as opposed to the console version, where for about 4 days after the release of the DLC, you could not even play the game. Yeah, that's bad, right? So they just rolled out a version of the game that it pretty much, if you had the Xbox, you couldn't play it at all. If you launched it, it just was empty. Nothing. You could do nothing. And then for some people who could play it, it ended up wiping out their save data. So they had to start over from scratch. They lost everything. Oh. So it was so bad, the founder of Hopo Games, who created the game, even weighed in on Twitter saying, how unfortunate it was that this new DLC is causing all these issues. He wasn't bashing Gearbox. He still believes that Gearbox is gonna make things right, fix the game up and everything. But yeah, he has no regrets about selling the IP to Gearbox. which if you seen recent news, Hopo Games has actually now been acquired by Valve, so they're going to be working under Valve on something. They said that they're still working on their third IP that I guess they have under the codename Snail, but they're also going to be working with Valve. Who knows? Maybe on Deadlock or Half-Life 3 or what have you. Well, you never know. It looks like Valve's really turning up the cranks for game development. So we might see a lot more from them here in the future. And speaking of Valve games, the second game I've been playing quite a bit of lately is Deadlock. Had a friend give me the access to the... is this an alpha or is this even before alpha?
I think it's an open beta actually right now. I don't know, or maybe it's an open alpha. Whatever it is, it's
not bad for what it is, and I feel like they have quite the foundations already laid there. I've played quite a bit of it already. It takes some getting used to, but as you know, we probably mentioned last week when G was talking about it. It's just it's a 4-lane MOBA third-person shooter. So with it being a shooter, I feel like it has a bit more of a skill gap as compared to games like League of Legends, where you know, if you're a range champion, all you do is right click on someone, and if they're in range, you're doing that. Yeah. Or even some of their abilities, you just click on them. But everything in Deadlock is free aiming, so it gives you a bit more opportunity to outplay someone and maybe overcome it. It's not just a full-on stats battle. So haven't played against actual players. We've just been doing... Me and my friend have just been doing hard bot lobbies.
Okay.
So, you know, like, they're not unreasonably tough, except for the farming part, where they're getting, like, 4 or 5,000 souls ahead of you, because anytime you kill a minion, they insta-snipe the little orb that pops up. And I like that mechanic where you can just build up more currency. You could steal it from your opponents, essentially, when they kill your minions. So there'll be like a little orb that you can shoot. But when you're going against bots, they're instantly shooting it, so you can't really get a chance to do that unless they're distracted. But I really am enjoying it. I'm, you know, learning how to do it, because I feel like I'm not farming right or something, because like maybe it's just the way the bots are. But I really like the permanent upgrades, because I feel like there's those breakable statues and crates that you can get. You can get more health, you can get higher fire rate, and that's a permanent buff. But I mean, the core gameplay is still very similar to League, where you push down the lane, destroy the towers, and make your way there. So I think my favorite character that I've played so far for Deadlock, I'd have to say, is Bebop. I've only played a couple of the characters, but Bebop, I think I went like 42 and 8 or something. So
good lord.
Yeah, like his laser ability, just like he has great range, and then once you get like a bunch of people in the open area where they're not going to be able to run, you just pop the ultimate laser and just shred them down.
Yeah.
That's essentially been my week. I mean, just 2 games. Didn't play any college football, just watched it.
Hell yeah. Well, it sounds like a great week, boys. I have actually a few new games to go ahead and pop through. I'll start with Deadlock as well. I have actually been playing a lot with some of my friends. We played for about 2.5, 3 hours yesterday, and we are playing against other players. So I'm getting my MOBA legs back a little bit. I also do enjoy Bebop quite a bit. I enjoy the Frozen guy. I don't know his name.
Is it Rocksteady?
Is there a Rocksteady? No, there isn't.
That's from Ninja Turtles.
So he's like a... I wouldn't know how to describe him very well, but definitely anybody who's played him would know who I'm talking about. But he is definitely just having a lot of fun. It's definitely a bit of a learning curve. One thing I really like about this game is that there are builds that people can save and other people can upvote. And if enough people upvote, it just gets into a list. And so you can literally just choose builds that other people like so that you can have like a better experience with these characters.
Where'd you see that? Because I was looking for that and I couldn't find anything to like change
so
builds or
when you're
stuff.
going into your builds, there's an option in the bottom right. I'll shoot you a message to show you how to do it.
And yes, Deadlock is pre-alpha, so
we're pretty far away from a launch at this point. But honestly, Valve is cooking something up. And we'll talk about another live game here in a little bit, which obviously has been big in the news, but that compares to this one a little bit. This game has been in development for the last 4 years, and people have only been playing it for the last year or so. But obviously we're getting closer and closer to launch. My guess is sometime in 2025 we'll probably see this officially hit. But honestly, it's a pretty great game from what I've played so far, especially if you are a MOBA fan. Just like Dash said, the third-person shooter it's a bit different, but it's a lot of fun. So definitely hard recommend from me. Also been playing a little bit of Astro's Playroom in preparation for Astro Bot, which is launching this week. I got my Astro Bot DualSense on its way right now, which I'll be posting a short video of to go ahead and see how it is as soon as it gets here, which will probably either be Thursday or Friday. But super, super excited for Astro Bot. I think it's going to end up being a Game of the Year candidate. 80 plus levels. It honestly just looks so solid. I love how much of like previous PlayStation characters we're already seeing that are going to be as bots within the game. So, and there's new powers and stuff they showed in the new trailer that I don't need to see literally anymore. I saw that like you get a Kratos axe for one of the powers. Don't need to see anything else. Looks amazing. It's going to be a great time. But also, I mentioned last week in our show, because of Star Wars Outlaws and some of the issues they were having, I was going to cancel my pre-order. I did. And instead, I picked up Black Myth Wukong, started it up, and brother, let me tell you, this game is awesome. It is very cool to like experience a world and an environment that I'm not familiar with, because Chinese mythology is definitely something I'm not, super familiar with. This is very, very cool. The boss designs are so impressive. I have really, really enjoyed it. I'm not too far in it right now. I will say that like it is a little odd, so that the voice and everything is like all of the character voice is set to align with like the Chinese the Chinese vocals. And so if you do English voice, it is a little bit off, and that is something that kind of takes a little bit getting used to. And that is how I'm playing, because I wanted to see what the English voice acting cast was like, and they do a great job. So definitely no complaints there. Combat is very, I would say it's a healthy mix between Dark Souls and God of War. It's not as hard as Dark Souls, but it is very dodge heavy. And definitely like a game where you can figure out like the patterns and everything pretty quickly. So I definitely big recommend from that one so far. And obviously there'll be more to come. And then lastly, also played college football. One I just wanted to shout out real quick. I started a dynasty with Army, and Army may be the absolute worst team to start a dynasty with. I had one season with them. I went 8-5. This is in a league with a friend of the show, Chinedu, and I got offered the Cincinnati job, and I have never run to take another job so fast in my entire life. It was awful. And all of their players are seniors, so they're going to be even worse next season. So I'm going to leave them high and dry. I'm going to Cincinnati. We're going to go make some shit happen there. So, sorry, Army. All right. Before we get to the big one, let's talk about some of the smaller stuff here. Dash actually posted about this, I think, on Facebook. Pacific Rim is coming back. And the reason I wanted to highlight this is not a game. But we talked about it last week. Legacy of Kain just did their Kickstarter. Made $1 million on what was supposed to be like a $50,000 goal. Pacific Rim, this Kickstarter, I think they were trying to get like 50 to 75,000 or something like that.
Yeah,
They've already
75,000.
hit their goal. There was a Cyberpunk Kickstarter that just started today. It hit its goal in 1 hour. Is this a new, and it's not new because Kickstarter's been around for a while, but I'm saying, is this like, should this be the go-to way for us to, like, if we're looking to remaster things, if we're looking to like see, you know, if there is interest in bringing back specific franchises, are Kickstarters the way to go? The answer has to be maybe. Like, because it, honestly, what we've seen just, and this is just over the last like 2 months, this is just a very, very convenient way for fans to show that, like, yes, we love this IP, we love this, and we want to see more of it. Legacy of Kain, there's probably a Legacy Soul Reaver, 1 and 2 remaster just based on what we saw from San Diego Comic-Con already. But that probably just highlights, like, okay, we do need to go ahead and bring this back. We've talked about Pacific Rim in this show, and like, man, we would really love to see a game in this universe. Just, when we're talking about Godzilla and all those kinds of things, like a kaiju-based, like, Gundam-esque game.
Build your own Jaeger fucking fight.
Yeah.
Like, beat some alien ass, man.
Yeah, that would be so fucking sick. Like, story does not even matter at that point, and I'm a narrative-heavy person, like, but I just thought it was something I wanted to highlight in the show. Kickstarters might be the way to go, especially if you're looking to bring back beloved IP.
Vote with your wallets, literally.
Yeah, seriously. All right. Also, Rocksteady, pretty severe layoffs today. This is unfortunately not surprising after the monumental loss that is Suicide Squad. $200 million loss for WB. Unfortunately, it was just one of those things that you'd never want to see happen, but you knew it was going to happen in this case. Their QA team was cut in more than half in this case, which absolutely sucks, especially when they've got a brand new Arkham game on the way. I guess it's actually not from Rocksteady, so disregard that. But it's just unfortunate. I hope everybody affected obviously goes ahead and lands on their feet.
What wasn't like the two guys who spearheaded the game? Did they dip out before?
They dipped out before it launched, so it's never a good sign.
Yeah. I wonder do you think they might have been hand-tied into doing it, or do you think that they were like, oh, fuck this thing and ship?
So a lot of people were saying like, oh, well, Rocksteady would never want to make a game as a service, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, apparently they picked Suicide Squad. The game as a service portion may have come from WB, but like they're the ones who picked those characters, that story, all of that kind of stuff. So I do think the games as a service portion really hurt it. And changing some of the mechanics up from the Arkham games, which
it was supposed to
really
be an Arkham game originally, correct?
Yeah. And so
if we go by the Jason Schreider thing, it was just like there was a lot of executive interference, basically,
which is a recipe for disaster every single time. And that's actually going to lead us perfectly into what we're talking about next, and that is Concord. Yeah. So for those who are unaware, Concord launched 2 weeks ago to not really any success. It sold less than 50,000 units, which is, from a video game standpoint, that is almost the worst numbers I've ever heard from a AAA title. This is a game that PlayStation potentially spent over $100 million developing. It was in development for 8 years. And, PlayStation obviously has shown like a want to delve hard into this games as a service space, and it probably didn't make things any better that Helldivers was such a huge success earlier in the year. But this is kind of just a situation unbeknownst to everybody, because not only are they going to stop sales of Concord, they're going to remove it from PlayStation completely and automatically refund everyone who paid for the game. The only thing that comes close to this situation like this was Cyberpunk. And they gave people the options to refund at that point. And obviously you knew what the issue was. It was a technical issue. Concord does not have technical issues. I have not seen anything negative from that standpoint whatsoever.
No, it's been like everything people have been asking. We want a bug-free game with no microtransactions and
at a reasonable price point at
Yeah.
$40. What did they launch? A game that has no interesting characters, and a character design standpoint that is...
It's like the armor color for Amari, I think, is like this hideous like tan with green combo that just doesn't look appealing. Like,
yeah. Well, and the looter shooter, like what this, Overwatch-y style kind of game, it is a packed space, and you're about to have it be even more packed with Marvel Rivals incoming here in a few months. And so this whole situation was really just a recipe for disaster. But I wanted us to talk about, how do we fix this? Because Dash and I played this game, and we had a pretty good time. We played it together. How do you fix Concord?
I mean, can it be fixed is the first question I have to ask, because you have 25,000 player base. I mean, you're not... obviously, the income there is not going to be enough to justify a live service game to keep on supporting it through its life cycle. How many people are you going to gain for it being free to play when we saw not even 2,500 people played it on Steam when it was an open beta and it was free to play?
Well, so, and it was less than 1,000 people purchased the game on Steam too. So
I thought it was like 5,000.
Maybe the number jumped up. I'm going off of like initial.
It was like less than 5,000 on Steam and like 15,000 on PlayStation or something like that. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, that's pretty horrible. So, do you guys think that launching at a free-to-play price point fixes any of this for them?
If they don't get the player base, then they're still losing money supporting a live service game that's not bringing in money.
Well, and if it's going to become a free-to-play game, then you probably have to, get in some microtransactions. There probably has to be some kind of means to make money.
I think they're just cutting their losses.
You think so? You think it's just going to be one and done, and they're done? I feel so terrible for the studio who launched this game. As I mentioned, the game's been in development for 8 years, but this is their debut title for PlayStation. That's enough literally could not have gone any worse.
It's enough to get shelved.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because everybody keeps on bringing up like Japan Studio for some reason, saying Sony closed Japan Studio for this. It's Japan Studio closed in 2021, and this game's been in development for 8 years. The two have nothing to do with each other. Right. And the people complain about Japan Studio closing. They didn't buy Gravity Rush. They didn't buy Knack. And, Japan Studio got absorbed into Asobi, which is Astro Bot.
Now making Astro Bot, which is probably going to sell a shit ton.
So vote with your wallets. If you really care about Japan Studio, buy Astro Bot.
And continue to buy Gravity Rush and Gravity Rush 2 because they're great games. So.
Oh yeah, they are. I feel like those were just ones that flew under the radar. Nobody appreciated them until they were gone, kind of thing.
And they're getting love in Astro Bot as well because there's a Gravity Rush bot.
Team Silent went on to go make Slitterhead, which is coming in October, surprisingly. And I feel like since the Game Fest, we've seen nothing more of that game. So I'm hoping this isn't a bad sign that this game's just gonna not do well because of lack of advertisement.
I also think it is also competing in that Halloween space, and now you're competing with Silent Hill 2 and any other horror games that are going to potentially be coming out during that time. I don't necessarily think that's going to be a reason for it to fail, but it is tougher to succeed in those circumstances.
I wanted to see more because the Summer Game Fest footage was good, but I still need to kind of see more and understand what I'm potentially going to buy because it's something I've been looking forward to since they revealed the concept trailer way back when. Years ago.
And it's the gameplay they showed it was a totally different game than I kind of was expecting.
An action it's more actiony than horror, honestly.
Yeah, and so definitely just something interesting. I don't know. We've got Tokyo Game Show coming up here in about 3 weeks.
I could see it being that Tokyo Game Show.
Probably going to see some more looks. I would love if we could potentially get some kind of tease from Capcom regarding, what's next at Resident Evil. Obviously, they've told us Resident Evil 9 is in development. But I think we will probably, I don't know, do we get another game or do we get another remake first? It's hard. I think Resident Evil 1 could be remade very, very quickly if they do decide to go that route. I don't necessarily think it's the one that needs it the most. I think Code Veronica and 5 are probably the two that you need to redo, or if they want to be, awesome, do Outbreak, or at least just do Outbreak and add it as a mode for one of these games. Like, that would be so sick.
So Resident Evil 3 should have came with an Outbreak mode, not this resistance stuff.
Yeah, not a big fan of, but I don't really like games, like that. Like, what's the horror game? Is it
Dead by Daylight?
Dead by Daylight, yeah. Dead by Daylight, 7 Days to Die, or whatever it's called. Like, I'm not a huge fan of those games, but
I don't want competitive horror games. I like cooperative.
I want survival. Yeah.
Like Lethal Company, that's great. And the content creator ones, that's kind of like Lethal Company, but you gotta go into I forget what was that called. It came out like a month or two after Lethal Company was really hitting its stride.
I've been looking at Lockdown Protocol. Me and a buddy were talking about that. Have y'all seen anything on that?
I think I've heard about it.
It's basically first person Among Us with guns. I don't know why
that sounds awesome.
Everyone out of focus. Let's see.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I saw this one.
Yeah, I'm putting this on the wish list. I might end up buying this. Only $10. We should check this out.
Hell yeah. No, that sounds amazing.
It's just like first person social deduction game combining real time action, 3 to 8 players. Well, most players, it's literally Among Us but first person, and you have guns. And I even saw clips of like people putting C4 on themselves and blowing themselves up. So that's amazing. You can role play certain things if you'd like, I guess.
Well, another game to check out. But the whole Concord fiasco is rough.
I like the idea of the IP, so I don't want them to abandon it. And it's funny because everybody's pointing out now we have this Secret Levels episode dedicated to Concord.
So awkward.
And now it's for a canceled game, but maybe it drums up interest in the universe itself. And like, I would have preferred. I keep on saying it should have been like maybe the single player cooperative shooter kind of experience instead,
and maybe
with a multiplayer mode included. I think.
And maybe that is what they look to go ahead and kind of traverse to from here, just because
that takes a lot of time and money to rebuild the game under that idea. And it took them 8 years just to make this, which is surprising because it was only 16 characters, and I guess they built it on a whole new engine, and that of course reduced.
But still, game development is just, the timeline is out of control.
I don't even think this game would have succeeded if it came out 6 years.
Yeah, like The Last of Us Part 2 didn't even take that long.
These Resident Evil games they're pumping out take like
what? 3 years. Yeah. It's fucking crazy. But
that RE engine is really good, though. What was the last game I played? I think actually the Kunitsu Gami. That used the RE engine too, surprisingly.
Yeah, it's their go-to for Capcom. So, well, like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, I think this will probably be a little bit of a shorter one here today. You guys got anything else you wanted to dive into tonight?
Quidditch Champions is on PlayStation Store for free now.
It is, and it's available right now. I played it for about an hour and a half today. It is a ton of fun.
I got it preloaded. I haven't played it yet. Also pre-ordered my Space Marine 2 and have it preloaded, so...
Fuck yeah.
God damn, it's frustrating, though.
Are you getting 4-day early access to it, or did you
of course I bought the $100 version of the game, because... That's what I was about to say. It's frustrating that I have to buy it like the full experience for a game nowadays. You have to spend $100.
Unless you're cheap.
Yeah, unless you wait. It's kind of like you either miss out and experience the game later when the hype dies, or you play at launch and spend $100, because I know with they've already laid out their roadmap for like the first 3 or 4 seasons for Space Marine 2, where they're gonna, add more stuff. Let me see, like more operations. Let's see what they got. Space Marine 2 roadmap. Yeah, they have like the first 4 things. So season 4 gets a horde mode. They're gonna have like new PvE missions, lethal difficulty, new enemies, new PvE and PvP game modes and missions. So they're gonna support this game for at least the next year.
I mean, it looks awesome. So I'm actually, and it comes out this weekend, right?
Yeah.
The 8th or 9th, huh?
And the 4-day early access starts Thursday. And of course, there's probably going to be a buttload of microtransactions, because it ain't Warhammer unless you're spending $10 on a specific paint or color,
Skin.
Because that's the most expensive hobby there probably is Warhammer.
Yeah. Ask Henry Cavill.
At least he has the money to support it.
Yeah.
And then, he'll get injured on The Witcher and just get to enjoy building his souped up PC instead.
We'll have to play this one and review it together.
I already have it pre-ordered. I have it preloaded. I will be playing it because I spent $100 on this shit. And that's kind of like the idea. Like, there's a lot of good games coming up this month and next month. And that's not even including November and December.
I'm excited to see how the year's going to end out, because we may have some other games that are vying for this game of the year. I think this year we're not going to have a unanimous decision when we do finally get to that.
There's going to be controversy, because the people who love Final Fantasy VII are going to get mad if Myth Wukong gets it, and vice versa.
Yeah. And then Astro Bot, Helldivers is definitely one that will be vying for that title as well. So
it's just like how quick the year's going.
Yeah.
A lot of shit happens. It's just like, there's just so many games. People's, it's like, even if you just like include indie games, you get dozens of games coming out a week.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are really good too. Like, there's those sleeper hits that can really jump out at you.
Exactly. All right. Well, I think that's a perfect tail end to this one. We'll go ahead and we'll cap it off. Hey, we wanted to say thank you to everybody who is taking the time to go ahead and listen here today. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, wherever you go ahead and get your podcasts. We will catch you guys next time.
Yep. Have a good one.
Good one.